Concatenating vectors is a very important operation that you need to learn how to perform. You will find yourselves in need to do this when you work with different sources of information. Let's say that you are making some experiment, but your data collection got interrupted a few times and the data that you have collected is spread over 3 separate data sets. In our case, 3 separate vectors. Now, even though that your data collection was interrupted, you still managed to collect enough data and want to keep working with it. The problem is that it's in 3 separate vectors and you want to work with that data in one single vector. You have to concatenate the vectors. How do you concatenate vectors? Let's create one main vector. First, I'm going to show you how to concatenate 2 vectors. Open square brackets and simply, it's actually very easy, simply use the 2 vectors that you want. Pass them as elements to the main vector. So first vector, second vector. And if we run this code now, you can see that we have 12 elements in our main vector. Our first vector has 8 elements, our second vector has 4 elements, 12 elements. We have all of the elements ordered. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is our first vector, and 3, 4, 5, 2 is our second vector. Actually, you can use the same approach to concatenate as many vectors as you want. So you can say main vector equals first vector, second vector, third vector, and as many vectors as you want, you can do it. Let's delete this. Let's see. And there we have it, the rest of the elements from the third vector. Now, what if at some point you get a new fourth vector that you want to concatenate to your current master vector? Well, you have to append it. So let's go back to our first and second vector example here. And let's say that now we want to append the third vector to this main vector. To do this, we have to say main vector equals, and we have to select the main vector itself here. Again, so main vector and third vector. If we run it, we get the same result exactly as we expected, exactly what we wanted. How does it work? Here we have already created our first main vector, which has the elements of the first and the second vectors. We are giving this main vector as the first value in our new vector. So basically we are taking our result from the previous operation, giving it as our first argument and appending the third vector to it. This can be useful if you are collecting data in real time and you want to automatically add each measured value to the vector. So you're not only able to do it with vectors, you can also append values. So you can say main vector equals main vector 1. We can do it several times and we will get one appended many times to the same vector. So the one here represents the data that is coming all the time. Now, collecting data in real time can be from a sensor that you have plugged to your computer and you have made it to work with MATLAB. Or maybe you have some long calculation that goes in a loop. We haven't covered loops yet. Loop is something that executes a given code all the time until some condition is met. So it's reiterating the same code. It's reiterating it, re-executing it. And maybe you want, whenever you get a specific value out of your code, you want to save it in your vector, you want to append it. This is how you're going to do it. And of course, don't forget to document your code. So here we have concatenating vectors. Here we have appending a vector and values, appending a vector. And here we have finally appending values. All right, let's move on.